Welcome to episode 12 of the Marketing Operators Podcast. Today, we are talking about all things customer experience. So specifically though, customer experience, not from your director of CS's perspective, but from a growth marketer's perspective. So this includes all things customer experience definitions, tactics to facilitate good customer experience, price positioning and its impact on brand perception, and my favorite part of the episode, some of our favorite customer experience initiatives that we are working on at Hexclad, Jones Road Beauty, and Ridge. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Motion, Prescient AI, and Richpanel. And last but not least, if you are a fan of the Marketing Operators, make sure you subscribe to be the first to know when all new episodes and all new content goes live.
So all of us use Motion every single day, every single week, and we love it. And I would get a lot of questions about how we use it to help simplify our creative strategy, organize all of the tests and learnings that we're doing, and ultimately help us make better ads. And so today I actually want to share, I think this is perfect timing. We just wrapped up a Memorial Day sale. So I actually want to share some of the reports that we're looking at to help, make better ads, understand our ads, figure out what we can do to iterate on these winners, and then actually prepare for Black Friday. So let's get into it. So there's a few different types of reports you can create. One that I really love is called the comparative analysis feature. You can essentially take any variables that you have, if you have it in your naming conventions, and you can break it down to see how things compared. And so the number one thing that we look at for any promo every week, but also on a monthly period that I have sent to me, is how did our videos versus statics perform? And so you can see here, we spent a lot more on video. We actually used to spend a lot more on statics during promos. For whatever reason, that flipped. Pretty similar ROAS, but obviously videos did a lot better. So that's one that we're going to look at just to get a quick pulse on how we're doing. Then we're going to look at by concept. So we launch all of our tests by concepts. And so, we may have a bunch of ads in each one. But the cool thing about this, we may have this concept, this PCC unboxing in 8 different campaigns, and it's very hard to go in Facebook and try to find all of them. Motion makes it super easy, aggregates everything right here, and we can see that was our top spender. One thing I love about it, you can also ingest and bring in your North Beam attribution. So we can see how much we spent on that concept, what were the ADA metrics, what was the Facebook ROAS and North Beam ROAS for pretty much everything. And we can see which of our concepts got the most spend, best ROAS, and see how we want to do. And so that's comparative analysis. The other thing we'll look at is just top ads. And so again, if you have one ad in multiple campaigns, this will aggregate it all into one concept based on just whatever ads have the same naming convention. Every week, I get a report sent to me. We do a comparative analysis that's saying, hey, of all the products, here's how much you spent on each one of all the products we have in our ad account and what's our ROAS. And then secondly, here's our top 7 ads. And I just want to see, did anything new make it into the mix? Is anything fatiguing? So these are reports we look at all the time for evergreen stuff, but also for promo periods. So that's Motion. I absolutely love it. And if you want to try it out too, like all of us here in the pod, go to motionapp.com. And if you tell them that you're coming from the Marketing Operators Podcast, you'll get 50% off your first month.
Welcome back, everyone. We are on episode 12 of the Marketing Operators Podcast. Today, we are talking about customer experience from a growth perspective. But before we do that, a lot has changed since the last episode we dropped. There's some Shopify acquisitions going on. Connor McDonald is now a married man. I can hear the sighs coming through the computer screen from all the lady listeners out there. And I also got a note for Sean. Apparently, he's not wearing a Ridge ring, so I don't know what's going on there. But yeah. So first off, Connor, how was the weekend? Went well. You texted us, said everything went to plan.
Dude, fantastic weekend. Everything went to plan. I was knocking on wood all weekend because everything kept going to plan, and I didn't expect it to, but literally pretty seamless. Although I'll be honest with you guys, so let's keep this between the three of us. So the best photo we got of the ceremony was just after we finished the vows. You get to kiss the bride. I bend down, I pick up my wife, and it's this great photo. She's obviously filled with joy, but square in the middle of the frame. I had forgotten to rip off the stitching in my blazer. So I ruined it.
Oh man.
No, I didn't ruin it actually. It's very me. It's this happens once in your life, hopefully, and I didn't quite think through everything that I needed to, so I was slightly unprepared. But otherwise, flawless weekend. Was super, super fun.
It could have been a lot worse. There's a lot worse things that could have gone wrong.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that's the rundown.
You got a nice wedding photographer and videographer. They can Photoshop that out, right?
We have AI. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can work some Photoshop magic on it.
Oh, so there's a little wedding tip. You don't need that wedding photographer or videographer. Just, plug all that raw content into AI and you got your wedding film. Bang. So, well,
Yeah, would have saved us a
congratulations.
bunch of money too.
Wow,
Yeah, I
yeah,
should
would've
have
saved a
thought
lot.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no, thank you, Connor.
that's awesome. So, all right, before we get
congrats.
into customer experience, some interesting things happening in the Shopify app world with some e-commerce technology companies. Shopify bought up checkout blocks in Peel. Cody, you were blasting our group message a few days ago, all excited about this. What are your thoughts on everything that's going on with those acquisitions?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. First, Peel. I feel like that one went under the radar. We used to use Peel for a while. It's a really good tool. That doesn't seem like that was a super successful acquisition. It was interesting in the fine print. They actually really just acquired the team. I don't know how big the team is, but actually not the software company. Somebody else actually got the software company, I think a PE company. So I don't know quite what to make of that. I don't know if that team is going to be working on analytics products, but I find that interesting, and hopefully it was a decent outcome for everybody. But checkout blocks too. So this guy, I don't know if you guys know Gil or use checkout blocks. We have in the past. Just he's very active on Twitter and seems like a great guy. He's gone above and beyond to help us. So first of all, just super happy for him. So if he's listening at all, congrats, Gil. That's awesome. But also like just a really cool acquisition. And I really like where checkout's going with Shopify with extensibility and being able to test and customize a lot easier. So I just find it a really interesting one. And if Shopify is investing more into that, it's exciting to me. I was always just very curious to see where they're kind of pushing the product.
Yeah, and I just spoke with Gil. I hit him up just because I wanted to hear about his operation like a couple weeks ago, and he didn't mention this at all. But incredibly cool backstory. Like, was an indie developer for a long time. Tweeted and did all the demos and built the whole product. He tweeted the other day, I think they have 900 Shopify Plus customers, so they're doing a ton of money in revenue, and he just hired like someone to help support him. So like incredibly lean team that Shopify decides to acquire. I think it makes total sense. I mean, if anybody gets the Shopify ecosystem and is in tune with what brands need within checkout, I think it's Gil. So that's like, as a really high leverage acquisition, I think is just like one super savvy guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's just such a great entrepreneur story. Like the guy bootstrapped, I think, and just built that thing by himself and now gets acquired by Shopify. And it's happy for him, but also, yeah, like you said, great move for them.
I haven't read too deep into it. Did they disclose what these prices were? What Shopify bought these two companies for?
I haven't seen anything.
I'd honestly, I'd be surprised if they were really big numbers, right? Like, I would imagine checkout blocks is doing over $1 million a year or something. So like maybe you're getting a good multiple on that. Yeah. You're not buying much of a team. You're buying Gillen, the one guy you just hired. I really think it's more like about like the I don't know, there's like a cultural aspect to it, or like how high leverage Gil can become within a larger organization and help inform more product decisions and lead engineering teams potentially. Maybe he saw no path to like building out a large team himself, or like and this would have been my question for a long time, like where does checkout blocks go from here? I could imagine that sort of upsell becoming a commodity product. So it's almost like you have to go the platform route. And that's just like much harder to support from a bootstrap perspective. So I'm not sure. What it reminds me of a little bit, and this might be like an odd parallel, but Stripe.com bought Indie Hackers, which like just felt like they were acquiring people who were really knowledgeable in the space, who were really influential and could help come in and make an impact. There's like a community aspect to Indie Hackers, like literally for Stripe that doesn't quite have a parallel here, but something about acquiring like indie entrepreneurs, I think is super interesting for these enterprise companies.
Yeah, I mean, that's so Shopify literally just acquired Peel's team and now is going to use them to go build out, better functionality for Shopify. I mean, that's crazy that they totally like sold the team in the technology separate. I didn't know that until you brought that up, Cody. I think Connor, you brought something up that's cool, like the entrepreneurial story around checkout blocks. It's Gil and one other or two others. I think that's so awesome, and like how they're such a lean team. They built something of value. They're able to liquidate it and sell it to Shopify. I remember meeting with Dennis Hegstad, years ago at this point, right after he had sold Live Recover. And I was just like in awe at the leanness of his team. It was like him, a technical co-founder, and then, the actual customer service people that were doing the live chatting with, their, the prospects of their brand customers. And they sold that for a huge exit. And like the entrepreneurial story and like capability of these, development technology driven companies is pretty cool. You don't need to be huge. You don't need to be venture backed.
And when I talked with Gil, it was really about like it had so much to do with timing. Like he kind of saw the writing on the walls a little bit. I guess that's typically has a negative connotation, but he saw that Shopify was building checkout extensibility, was very familiar with the Shopify ecosystem, knew that brands would be pushed into extensibility, and knew they'd be looking for tools within that. So we started like months beforehand, and really just like caught this wave of people moving onto it. We use checkout blocks. It's like free money basically. So it's a really great tool. So yeah, awesome story and super interesting acquisitions from Shopify. I would say I totally agree, Cody.
And same with Live Recover, by the way. Now all these major SMS providers provide an equivalent service. Postscript provides SMS sales. Obviously Live Recover is still Live Recover. Attentive has their own like concierge service of it now. So I think Dennis probably like nailed the timing before, that service became something that you could get through a lot of these SMS vendors.
Yeah. So Live Recover, for those that don't know, it was like abandoned cart and checkout abandonment service that was SMS based, and they would have people physically message people who had abandoned their carts and checkout, and they had like live people interacting, and then they'd create these like word clouds and give you insights into the conversations. They were really, really early to SMS. I think they launched that pre-Postscript, pre-Attentive, who went on to become billion-dollar brands. So they were like directionally super correct in the medium, and then sold it before like I think in another universe, Live Recover becomes Postscript or Attentive, where they actually build out self-service tools and become like an SMS first channel for brands. But yeah, incredible outcome for Dennis and his partner there.
Yeah, which is a great segue, because I would argue that tool is a great swing at creating a really awesome brand experience, which is what we're talking about today. Customer experience from a growth marketer's perspective. As a preview, I will say I think about this more and more and more as more time goes on and I get deeper and deeper into this business. It's something I didn't think about much earlier in my career. As always, how can we sell more products? How can we sell more products? Direct response. And over time, I've realized that, these customer experience driven plays, funnels, whatever you want to call it, initiatives, they really fuel that growth in those direct response moments, and they really work complementary together. So I'm curious, just to start things off, like how do you guys, I think customer experience is one of those things that gets defined in a lot of ways, the same way that like someone with the title of e-com manager inside of a brand might do 10 different things at 10 different brands. So how do you guys define customer experience from a growth marketer's perspective specifically? Connor, you want to take a crack at that one first?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for you. I'll lay out like the way that we think about it, more or less. We have a director of customer experience, and they sit like it's largely an operational function within Ridge. Like they're sitting over a couple people onshore in the US, and then we've got a team overseas who are managing all of the tickets. For us, we don't get a lot, but like, we have warranty claims, which a lot of brands don't have to deal with. We don't deal with many returns. We deal with some exchanges, particularly with rings. So like just the general operational approach. And I'll say for a long time, our focus has just been on like, how do we do that as lean and efficiently as possible? And think about a good customer experience, quote unquote, from a like metrics perspective. Like if I were to say, how have we improved the customer experience most from a CX, from a director of CX standpoint, it is just like, how are we reducing ticket times, providing more clarity, et cetera, et cetera. Now, where that becomes like a slightly larger definition for us is our director of customer experience works with our director of retention. So how do we identify like sticking points that customers have or issues or whatever else? And how do we just better address some of those problems? And a couple wins on that front would just be like Wonderment package tracking. just provides like infinitely more clarity into where those people's packages are. So we get to reduce the amount of people asking where their things are and just be more proactive about providing a better experience. And between that's like the core group there, the email, SMS, there's an e-com perspective, there's a CX perspective. How are we coming together to create something that is like unified and an overall better experience? That's how I'll think about it. The second one that I'll say, which is like a little bit more straightforward, but when we went to approaching improving LTV last year, which has been an ongoing effort of ours, we've historically been a very acquisition first business. Most guys only own one wallet. Ours is guaranteed for life as well. So there's very little reason to come back. But when we wanted to just look at how do we improve LTV, the first thing was just like, how do we just make a better experience to be a customer? And that was when we like redid our account experience. We gave better access to lifetime warranty. We gave some of the shipping updates. All of those things are just like stacking up to, in theory, make someone more likely to come back because they had a better experience the first time. And that's probably like a clearer way of thinking about it from a growth marketer's perspective. We didn't measure any of that. We have seen a growth in LTV. It's really hard to attribute it back to those efforts, but overall, it's just like a very intuitive approach to how are we actually growing the dollar amount that we are getting from customers. So those are the couple of ways that we've been structuring the teams and thinking about it from a project perspective.
Yeah, Cody, I want to get your thoughts, but to build off Connor's last note real quick, we actually went to our CDP, our customer data platform late last year, and to define that a little bit, customer data platform, basically just taking any segment of your customer base and being able to slice and dice that data depending on what insights you're trying to glean from them. So it's like, hey, what's the LTV of everyone we acquired in January? What's the first order AOV of everyone that's first order included a certain product, whatever it is, you can probably slice it and dice it with a customer data platform. So we were curious, how did people index that had a customer service touch point versus our entire Shopify order database? And it was really interesting. We saw a 21% higher lifetime value and a higher average order value on folks that had a customer service touch point compared to the entire Shopify order database. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say the conclusion is that customer service touch points equals more LTV, because I think to say like that's causing it is a bit of a stretch, because it could be that, but also there could be the conclusion that maybe people that were going to buy with you are just more likely to reach out to customer service and get their questions answered, and maybe they're going to buy anyways. But regardless, I think that's an interesting data point. Not that we like look at.
We've seen some pretty similar data too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We've seen some pretty similar stuff as well. Yeah. It's kind of hard to know. It's like, do you necessarily want to encourage driving through that or encourage returns or exchanges? Like, who knows? Likely not, but it's still a very cool data point to know that, like, yeah, when people are actually interacting with people, they're clearly having a very good experience, and it is actually improving retention. And it's probably worthwhile to build out that team or that process to do everything you can to give people a great customer experience.
Yeah. So if you're a CMO, a head of growth, a paid media lead in today's e-commerce ecosystem, you know how hard media mix can be. You know how hard it can be to sift through all the data and make the decision of what percentage of spend you want to put into each channel. So, last click based attribution is great, but they often undervalue view channels. Incrementality holdout testing is great, but that often takes, weeks and months to get that data back. And you might take 4, 5, 6 months to have comparable data across all your channels. Enter Prescient AI. Prescient AI is AI-powered marketing mix model. So basically what Prescient does, it measures and forecasts the true daily value of your paid media campaigns with incredible accuracy. And it really gives you the confidence to scale and put your budget where you think it's best put and what's optimizing that ad spend. So basically with Prescient, you're gaining AI-powered insight into the impact of your paid media, including hard-to-measure campaigns on TikTok, YouTube, influencer, and connected TV campaigns, on your e-commerce revenue, including Amazon. I cannot emphasize how important this is. It's one of my favorite parts of the tool. Prescient's super easy to install. There are no pixels, so you have just super quick access to past, present, and future data in hours, not weeks, not months, in hours. You start getting models outputted, and these are all unique to your brand. They're trained and they're back tested on your data. And what Prescient does that I have not seen other MMM tools do is that they actually give you optimizations down to the campaign. It's not just how much you should put in Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, but they're actually giving you, saying, hey, this campaign in Facebook is better than this one. You should put more budget here, which is really cool. We use it at Hexclad. It's used by other top brands like Good American, Cozy Earth, Timbuktu, Nude, and dozens more. It's one of the fastest growing e-com tech MMM tools in the game right now. So if you want to check them out, book a demo today at prescient-ai.io/operators. That is prescient-ai.io/operators. Prescient AI, helping brands scale spend confidently with AI-powered marketing mix models. So Cody, what about you? What are your thoughts on kind of what defines customer experience? Or is there anything that you would say is not customer experience? Like, I want to hear how you define it, but is there anything maybe that some people call customer experience, which you say, I don't think that's customer experience, or how do you overall define it and view what is and isn't customer experience driven stuff?
It's a good question. It's a little bit of everything. Like, obviously we have our CX department, for us, that was actually, even as of now, it's technically on marketing. So it reports to me. I made the easy decision, but I'll say it's a hard decision to fire myself from that. And actually, I'm going to remove that to our chief product and operations officer, just because I determined it's not my strength. I think, we should all be trying to focus on where we are strong, and where we get energy from. And I don't necessarily love, focusing on the side of it. And it's not to say that it's not important. I think it's extremely important. It's just not where I have any unique skills. And I think other people in the organization can do it just as well, if not better than me, in terms of like managing our director of CX. And then it's not really where I enjoy spending my time. So we moved it to ops. I actually think it's a more seamless fit for us. I have seen in organizations, it's pretty much 50-50, whether it reports to marketing or ops, maybe 60-40 on the ops side, like Connor said. So it's going to report to our chief product and operations officer, because a lot of it, yes, there's a marketing side, but there's also the operations side of having a good experience. Are you getting your packages? If something happens, are you getting a replacement? Like all that kind of stuff. So for us, it was just a natural time, but I consider customer experience, it's kind of like, how you have like influencers and ambassadors and affiliates and creators, and like there's kind of all like a Venn diagram, and they all kind of fit in together, and it's just all one, and they're all your like creator or media program. I kind of consider like customer experience and brand the same way, where it's just anything that affects how somebody's going to feel about your brand. And I think a huge part of brand and how people feel about it is the customer experience, and vice versa. And so it's really any touch point that anybody's having. Obviously, it's what you're saying in your ads and all that kind of stuff. It's how they interact with people. So your customer experience team, it's your community. So it's your social community management. Obviously, there's community, interacting with other people. It's your emails. It's your text. If you're doing something like a PostScript SMS sales, if you have, for us, we have a Facebook group that's got 50,000 people. Like that's an extension. Is that social, and that's community management, or is that customer experience? It's kind of in between. There's retention aspects, working with a Wonderment or a PGQ. There's even aspects where CX has to, customer experience is impacted by your shipping options, right? I would say Amazon has an amazing customer experience in terms of their shipping options and offering different express shipping options. Are you living up to the promises you're giving? Obviously, what's the cost and what's the profitability to the business of those? So to me, it's everything, and that's just customer experience, and it's so closely tied in with brand.
I fully agree. That's why I think customer experience is a very interesting topic, because it's ops, it's customer service, it's growth, it's brand team, and everyone needs to contribute to that customer experience. One thing I think is interesting.
I got one more.
Yeah.
It's store, because we have our own stores.
Totally.
That's a huge part of customer experience as well for us. I forgot about that one.
And all right, so I want to ask you a follow up on that. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've heard a lot of e-com brands that roll out a retail store, and these are big e-com brands, right? Like these are brands that, for the most part, if you're an e-com first brand and you roll out a store, you're probably doing 9 figures in revenue. I think I heard this first on the wow, I'm gonna shoot my, is it Limited Supply? Is that the one with Nick and Moyes? I'm blanking on the name. Limited Supply.
Yeah.
I heard Nick talking about this idea that I forget the brand he was referring to, but they were a huge brand and they rolled out a bunch of retail stores, and they all they gave a shit about was breaking even on the store, because they knew it was more of a brand marketing initiative, a customer experience initiative, than it was going to be a huge profit driver for them. And that was really interesting to me, because I've thought about, we have some competitors that I think have done a really nice job made in. Like, I went to their retail store in Austin and it's a really cool customer experience. So Cody, how do you look at it? Are you like trying to drive profit through your retail store? Is it more of a brand building customer experience play? Is it a bit of both?
Great question. A little bit of both. Definitely profit. Everything we do, we want it, and it has to be profitable. And we haven't necessarily found the data that supports it would be worthwhile to not be profitable, but we just also haven't looked. But it's still super important for us that people are having a very good customer experience, that they are. So much customer experience is products. Like, people, you can have the nicest team in the world, but if people don't love the products and get use out of it, they're not going to have a high NPS score. So that's extremely important. But yeah, and I think you have it two ways. You have, first of all, the customer experience aspect, which is obviously the product, but it's, am I meeting with an associate at the store who's really friendly? Am I just having a good experience? Are there pleasant people? Is it something where I'm compelled to go and tell my friend about how great of an experience I had, or was it a little off-putting because it was too salesy, or I didn't get the attention? So that's something that's really important, and we place a really large focus on. We train up our team all the time on that. But then there's also just like almost like the Glossier type vibe, which is kind of like you're talking about, like, that's more of like a brand thing, but it's like, it's such a cool experience in the store. They've got really cool stuff going on that you just are compelled to take photos of it and tell your friends about it because it's cool. I think for us, we focus more on the customer experience side than the brand side. But definitely we want, especially with being such a digitally native brand, it's really the only in-person touch point. So we want people to have as great of a customer experience as possible. And what we find, people that shop in stores and online have a higher LTV than people that are just shopping online.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. So Cody did the same thing that we kind of did with our CS Touchpoint segment. Okay. Also, I feel this way about, and this is why I thought Made Ins was so clever. Like, you can tell the quality of a piece of cookware by how it feels in your hands, like how evenly the weight's distributed, how heavy it is. And like, that's why I liked Made In stores so much, because they had every single product in the store, so I could pick it up. They also had like knife sharpeners in the store if you wanted to come in and get your knives touched up. You don't need to do that too much with Hexclad knives because they stay sharp. And then they also had iPads, so because you couldn't, I don't even think you could buy through like a traditional cash register at the Made In store, because obviously it's takes up a ton of room of inventory. So they had these iPads then that you could go in and buy on at the store, which I thought was really cool. Cody, I imagine makeup, like I imagine the experience in terms of, like, do you allow people to try the makeup at the store? Is that something that is like, that to me is a huge
Oh
level
yeah,
up.
and you get to meet. I forget the data, but last time I looked, it's like 2% of global beauty purchases happen online. And I don't know if maybe it's much higher than that now, but clearly the vast majority of people are buying stuff in person. So we just need to have some type of presence where people can feel it. So yeah, you can book a whole session with somebody for $100 and get an hour
That's
with
so
them
cool.
and get a whole look. You can just come in and play around with stuff and swatch it and test it, or you can get a quick 10 minutes with somebody just to go through like one product and get your shade. Yeah, it's pretty much everything for us, and so that's why we're bullish on our stores. But yeah, just that experience, and again, it's just like, we want our brand to be known as friendly, helpful, not salesy. It's the same way we try to communicate online in our copy, in our email and SMSs and ads and Bobby. And it's the same thing in store. Like, we just want people to have a pleasant experience and to kind of have a very consistent feel across the brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I got to ask one more question about the store, because it sounds like you guys are doing it really well. First off, actually, two questions. Is it in New York City? Is that where it's based out of?
We've got 5,
Wow.
opening 6 in a month, and then very active. It's where I spend a lot of my time now, very actively sourcing more leases for this year and the next year.
And who runs lead on like the build out of the store? Like who oversees the entire, like the build out of the store, the experience? Like, do you have like a director of retail or some sort of title like that?
We have a senior director of retail, who reports to me. My dad, and it's a family company. My dad's a developer, so him and myself and one other board member kind of run lead on finding new locations. Like we had like a virtual walkthrough of a lease today that we're looking at, so we run point on that, and then our senior director of retail kind of runs point on the project management from the construction and build out side.
That's so cool. Wow, you're like reinvigorating my excitement about the ideas of having a Hexclad retail storefront.
You guys should totally do one.
Shoot Jason a text after this and be like, yo, you gotta do this.
I will.
Cool. That's awesome to hear. I think one of the guys, and I'm not a huge fan of him anymore and where his content has trended, but when I was first getting into internet marketing, way back in the day in college and in high school, one of the guys that I used to follow online was Gary Vaynerchuk. And, say what you will about Gary Vaynerchuk, but Gary Vaynerchuk has a tagline that really lends itself to this whole idea of customer experience and how it supports growth. And the tagline was always jab, jab, punch. And Gary Vaynerchuk was always like, give value away for free, and eventually you'll have something to sell. And because you gave it away for free, people will buy it. I think he was talking about digital products, and I think Neil Patel took that one to heart. But I think about it in terms of like customer, like brand marketing and growth marketing. Like I'm a huge believer that all of the product use information we send out and all of the like just pure entertainment value stuff we send out, like that drives sales. And like if you're telling me that, Dirt by Huckberry doesn't ultimately drive revenue, like I don't think that's the case. I think they don't probably see much direct attribution, but that content series has become such a good customer experience and brand moment for them. And I think that stuff really matters in driving revenue, and no one wants to be sold to all the time. So I think a few helpful filters as well to ask yourself, and these are just ones that come off the top of my head. There's probably 20 more you could ask, and like answering these questions, I think, can really make you see where the holes in your customer experience are some of these questions. So first off, is it clear which product someone should purchase? Like, is that CRO dialed in? Is it confusing, or is it clear? Can they purchase the product easily? Are shipping timelines and return guidelines clearly defined? Do you give them easy ways to reach out to CS? So going back to your point, Cody, I don't think it's not really about like driving people to CS as much as it is like making sure CS is, always available and easy to find if someone wants to look for them. Do you give them information about how to use the product to get the best results possible? Like, are we telling folks how to season our pans, how to clean our pans, what to expect in terms of normal wear and tear, what they can and can't use their pans for, how much heat should they be cooking for? Like, is all that information readily available? And are we driving traffic to it? Do you entertain your customers in a way that includes your product? I love running pure entertainment driven marketing funnels and campaigns. And you will go and you look at those click-through rates and those open rates, and people are clearly interested in that stuff. Is the unboxing experience engaging? This is a really interesting one that I think, it's not just about getting the sale. It's like, is the whole thing really engaging? So I think those are super, super informative questions to ask yourself. Is there any you guys would add in terms of like a filter for, hey, how can I like uncover whether or not my customer experience is good? Anything else that comes to the top of your head?
I have a question based on some of the things you just ran through. Like you mentioned expectations around wear and tear on product, or you've got, do they get information for how to use the product? I'd actually love to hear how you guys are like feeding that out to customers in both like a pre-purchase sense and a post-purchase sense. And maybe that changes whether it's like e-com or email or SMS. Are you using paid? Just that particular one around the product information.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing it?
So it's an area we've gotten okay at. I think we have a lot of room to grow in it. There is information about this in the pre-purchase flow, like specifically though, like the things that you would need to, like, you don't necessarily need to know the importance of seasoning our pan prior to buying, but you do need to know about the lifetime warranty, because that is a huge value prop that a lot of cookware brands don't offer. And that could be the tipping point. So like if you'll go to our like 12-piece set page, and lifetime warranty is the final, expandable, collapsible section in that product shop section. And then we're basically facilitating all of the other information in post-purchase flows. So post-purchase flows and product experience. So like if you order, like, Connor, you have a HexCloud package coming your way, there should be a package insert in there with a QR code that'll take you to our use and care page. And that has all of the information you need, like per product category. So like how to season it, how to clean it, all that information. And so we're putting that right in the package first and foremost, is where I think most brands should do it. But we're also reiterating it in campaigns and in post-purchase flows. Now, the area I think we can improve on is I'm not a huge fan of the web content we have right now. We have some video, we have some that's purely animated and copy driven. We are planning to reshoot it all, and then also doing an audit once we reshoot it and have it living on the site again, to audit our post-purchase flows and say, hey, are we activating in all the spots we can be? But I think any brand should start off with their website, like building out a page for it where all this information lives. And then in terms of like the very first step to go for driving traffic to it, like put in the package, like, hey, read this before you use the product, or whatever that big, bold CTA is. So that's how we're doing it right now. And that's kind of where we're hoping to take it in the next, few months.
Yeah. So we had a similar experience. Ours is a little bit different. But one thing we realized, this was when I kind of first joined. So this was like 2017, early 2018. When somebody tries a Ridge wallet for the first time, they're like basically by definition trying something new. We like patented this dual track expandable design. So like nobody's really used to sliding their cards in there and kind of pushing them out through the thumb insert. So what we found actually was we were doing A/B testing on the site, and we had the homepage, and there's a bunch of Shop Now CTAs. And at one point we tried like, hey, let's just try like a how it works CTA. Like, let's just show people, like, let's tell people if they want to know how it works, they can click this button. And all of a sudden it was probably like the third or fourth tier on the homepage, and it went from a 2% click-through rate to a 20% click-through rate. So we were like, oh my God, nobody has any idea like how the wallet actually works. We just had a bunch of like static images of it looking really cool. Like nobody actually understands how you're sliding the cards out and accessing them and like the little tips to it. So all of a sudden that became like priority number one, was like, how are we just best educating somebody pre-purchase on how it works? How do you slide the cards out? Kind of the basic blocking and tackling of using a Ridge wallet. And that was like a huge unlock for us, that it didn't necessarily come from a CX team insight from like customers writing in asking how it works. It came from messaging A/B testing on the site, and then making sure that we were hitting that point across other touch points. So that's a big one for us that I think is similar to like wear and tear for something like pans. And then the flip side is like post-purchase, we get a lot more granular, where we have some video content. I agree with you. Like I'm in the same boat as you, that we could definitely improve on a lot of it, but we have a modular design. So if you're switching from a cash strap to a money clip, or you're replacing the screws or the plates or whatever, like how do you actually do that? Best supporting that. So those are the ways that we've thought about it, which is the exact same sort of idea. Like, what are you doing to identify pain points for a customer where their experience is not as good as it could be? And then what are the strategies in the channel so that you can address that proactively and earlier? And this is where it comes back to like it being a growth marketing mindset, because like when we started showing people how the wallet worked, our conversion rate increased like 15%. Yeah. Like it was a really meaningful lift, and it was like a total game changer in the business back in 2017. So I think that's like the perfect marriage of improving the experience and it leading to like a benefit to the bottom line.
That's a really good example where like customer experience and growth marketing are often one and the same thing. And I also think there's this general, in my opinion, misconception that customer experience equals customer service. I disagree. I think that customer service is a huge part of customer experience, but there's a lot more that goes into customer experience is a massive umbrella term, and like growth's in there, customer service, brand. For that test, did you do a split test and actually measure like conversion rate increase? And then were you also looking at like heat maps to say, oh wow, the click rate on this CTA is way better than or how are you measuring it?
It was a long time ago. So we were using, it was some sort of A/B test. I think we were using Google Optimize, because I do remember seeing the click-through rate go from 2 to 20%.
That's crazy.
So I'm sure we were using Hotjar and Google Optimize at the time. And yeah, it was because like looking back at the site, if you were to do that in 2017, it was like we used a lot of renders. We weren't showing like any hands on the wallet, no like cards expanding, any of that. So we just like, we better address that. We have a how it works video on the PDPs now. We have the cards expanding in the variant photos. Like we've just like slowly kind of chipped away at addressing that education point.
That's cool.
And it was a big unlock for us. So yeah, I customer service, the distinction between customer service and customer experience, I think is really key here. Because yeah, it is like ultimately a unification of a number of different pieces of the overall, journey.
And with those modular components, like if I have the Ridge wallet, now I bought the cash trap or the money clip, or I guess those are two different things, right? The cash trap and the money clip. So where do those videos live? Are you driving people to a web page where those live? Are they like YouTube videos, or what's your that funnel look like for, hey, I just bought this additional piece. I need to get content in the consumer's, head or eyes or whatever on how to install this. Like, what does that journey look like?
Yeah. So we built a page that you get sent to in the post-purchase flow that is like how it works with commonly asked questions that you can click into and answer them. And then there's a playlist of unlisted videos on our YouTube channel that the customer service team will direct people to for certain comments and questions. So that's how we address it right now.
Flow that actually redirects to, sorry, did you say that redirects to a web page, or did you say the video is actually embedded in the email?
No. It sends them to a page on our site where you can access a number of different videos.
Okay. Cool. That's awesome that you guys have like made that such a key part of your test and scale strategy. Cody,
sorry, I'll expand on that one more time, because one thing when selling Ridge wallets, what I talk about at least is like there being three like really distinct pieces, and I think the last two are very kind of customer experience and even customer service related, but we want to like attain interest. Pretty obvious. Like, how do we just get people interested? And that's like, for a long time, it was just the basic comparison, bulky wallet versus slim wallet. Then it was really around education, which was very much informed by this idea that people want to know how it works. They've never used a wallet that we're selling them now. So how are we educating? And then the last one is like just de-risking, where it's like, that's why we do the 99-day risk-free trial. We have the lifetime warranty. It is like, you're interested in this, you understand how it works, you can try it today. We do free and fast shipping. If you don't love it, you can send it back for a full refund, no questions asked. And I think the second 2 points there are really what makes up what I want to be the core customer experience of becoming a Ridge customer. And I just think, it's like a summation of a couple of the points that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that approach is so dialed in. I love it.
So what do the most successful brands have in common? They have great profit margins. They're lean businesses. They're actually making money. This is something the D2C industry didn't do for a really long time. And number two, they have a brand that consumers love. Now, what if I told you that you could achieve both using AI? The team at Richpanel has developed an AI that can significantly reduce your support staff while providing memorable customer service. So you can reduce costs while ensuring that consumers continue to love your brand. So here's how it works. The AI imports data from your existing help desk and uses this information to train itself. This entire process takes less than a day. Afterwards, it begins to automate numerous tasks, thereby reducing customer response times. We just switched to Richpanel at Ridge. We had been on customer. I didn't feel we had a modern stack for our customer experience team. What we're looking forward to doing is a number of things I just mentioned. We're going to reduce headcount. We're going to offer a better customer experience. We're going to make information more readily available to the consumers that are looking for it. And we think Richpanel is a great tool to do that. So the best aspect of the transition was its simplicity. We were ready to go live in 2 weeks with no data loss. Our team of 30 agents were quickly onboarded. And thanks to Richpanel's tutorial videos and user-friendly interface, it was all very seamless. If you're looking to leverage AI to save on support, payroll, and deliver a customer service experience that your customers will truly appreciate, check out richpanel.com and schedule a demo with their team.
Cody, I want to ask you a question, because I imagine like with makeup and like your brand more than Hexclad and more than Ridge, like I think the consumer, like the need to, I mean, you can't really experience your product until, and that's the same with ours, but like it's even more so with you guys, because they need to put it on their face and like see how it all comes together with everything else that's going on. And I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't wear makeup, but I think that's probably the case. I'm curious, just I know you're very growth, revenue, performance driven. So I'm curious if you have had like your thoughts change over time, like from the moment you started working on, growing Jones Road to now? Like, have you seen any like differences in your overall perspective on how like customer experience sort of fits into the overall, equation with how you guys grow?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No, I probably initially, but I think at least from the very beginning of Jones Road, I appreciated it because I saw how powerful it is, and I just probably don't talk about it as much, just because I more naturally focus on the revenue and the growth side. But I definitely appreciate it, and I do think some of it is subjective, and you don't know if testing these things that we're talking about makes a big difference. But then sometimes you do, and you actually see a pretty big thing, which is cool. So I think in so many ways I agree with what you guys said, and there's so many ways that we are trying to do it or do it as well. So yeah, I'll just kind of answer that a little bit if that's cool. So we're building a YouTube channel. I know you guys kind of both have one. So like, for example, and I wanted to do this from the beginning. We just didn't have the video production capabilities, and now we have an amazing video team in house. So like, we filmed something we've wanted to do. We're 3.5 years old. For 3 years, we've wanted to have just like a Miracle Bomb video. It's like a 10-minute video with different chapters. And it's like, here's how to use it. Here's how to pick your shade. And then like, here's overcome problems. If it's too sticky or too greasy or something like that, or you're not getting the color, like having a specific chapter where we show people how to do it. Because theoretically, if people are getting better usage out of the product, they'll be more likely to use it. And then buy more things, right? It's no brainer. So for us, it starts with YouTube video. Like we've got, I think like 120,000 views on it in 4 weeks. So like pretty happy with that so far. And then it's all about distribution and how do you put that into a life cycle. So we are obviously we're building everything out on YouTube, having different playlists. We have some built. We're in the process of doing more, kind of like landing pages that are kind of hidden on our site. So YouTube videos are public for us. Landing pages will be hidden on our site. QR code, which we're updating it right now, or a postcard will go in every order with a QR code on it. Thanks so much for buying these products. Here's a link to these amazing resources to make sure you get the best out of them. And so we have a landing page for Miracle Balm with the foundation right now, and we'll build it out for a few of our hero products, and they'll all be linked to kind of a central collections page that'll really have everything we think people need to know. So they'll have the video, embedded in there. They'll have FAQs. They'll have some social proof like that. Anything we need to know. And yeah, I guess you theoretically could test it. You could, if you have a good 3PL who's a partner, run a holdout or an A/B test. Put this card in some people's box and don't put a card in other people's box and see if retention's any better. You could. I'm not opposed, especially if there's a cost to it. You want to know if it's worth it. Otherwise, it's one of those things that you've just got to believe it's worthwhile. But then again, it gets integrated in the whole life cycle. So you can take Figma, draw out the entire journey. Figure out where you're putting it on acquisition. I think what you guys said last week made a ton of sense, and you've got me rethinking testing video on PDPs and landing pages, and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about incorporating, you can absolutely get that in there pre-acquisition. And I think a lot of that we do try to do. Like we'll talk about how to use the product in ads. We'll talk about how to use the product in landing pages. For us, shade matching is a big one. And if you buy the wrong shade, you're not gonna have a great experience. So we have to do everything we can to help people get that information up front. But definitely in the box, post-purchase, emails. We've even done quite a bit of it in some direct mail. But yeah, email, SMSs are obviously the big hitters for post-purchase flows for people. But we are incorporating YouTube videos into those. We have very specific, here's how to use. We try to be less upselly. Like obviously we want to upsell and we want to get revenue, but we try to do that whole jab, right hook where we're trying to lead with value. And a lot of our post-purchase emails, if you buy Miracle Bomb, you're getting a lot of how to use it, how to pair it with other products, overcoming the specific objections. Like we'll do that very clearly. So to me, it's a whole life cycle and flow. And some of it is you should probably test it and know if that's incremental. But sometimes it's also just, hey, we believe that this is a good customer experience, and so we're going to incorporate this kind of a thing. But like you guys have said, like sometimes it's where you get the same thing that it's a great customer experience, but it actually has performed the best for us. Meaning, I think we talked about it last week on our navigation. We have a returns and exchanges page, and that actually boosted site-wide conversion rate by like 11% just by adding that, creating a page and adding that. And yeah, that's counterintuitive. You wouldn't think telling people how easy it is to make a return or exchange would do it. Oh, another one I saw probably about a year ago on a Ridge landing page. You guys had a section. I don't know if you do it anymore. It's like lower down on the page, and it shows your we call it shop with confidence. I don't know what you guys do. It shows your return policy, your exchange policy. We saw a small we adopted that, and we saw a very small lift. So we put that on a lot of our landing pages now as well. Just giving people the confidence to know how easy it is to make a exchange, and that you've got a good policy before they have to buy.
Yeah. So that goes back to my like point around de-risking it. That squarely fits into that bucket. But I'm proposing a new segment that we can call Ecom Bros Learn About Makeup, because I want to understand how shade matching works online. Yeah, what do you guys do for that?
I love that. So we run all of our ads, and I guess this is part of customer experience. We run the majority of our ads through a quiz. It's been something that we tested when pretty early on, and it's performed best for us in terms of conversion rate, AOV, but I also think it's better customer experience. So we go to a landing page, and then the call to action on the landing page is go to a quiz. And Il Maquillage runs a very similar funnel, but where it's clearly the biggest objection. And so the easiest way to do that is, it's just a shade finding quiz, and I think we have 9 questions, and you're essentially choosing people that look like your skin tone. You put in kind of your main concern, so dullness, redness, dryness, things like that. Your skin type, dry, normal, oily. How do you want to use it? So for Miracle Balm, you could use it as a blush, highlight, bronzer, glow, all that kind of stuff. So you pick what you want to use it for. You put in your age as well. So just all of this thing, you can put an email or skip it, and it's actually going to give recommendations. And so based on all that, it'll give a recommendation and say, hey, this is your shade. We recommend bronze because you said you want to, use it as a bronzer. You said you have dry skin. Here's how to use it. That goes to like a results page that can automatically, add to cart. It's got some social proof. It's got charts. So we have different ways. I'd say the quiz is the main one. We have charts that show the different use cases. Visually, you can show different people of different skin tones wearing the shades and show what they would look like. We pretty much have to do it all. You pretty much have to do everything that you can to ensure that you're giving people the right information. I think video is another one on our landing pages we haven't tested yet, but we probably will. And then last but not least, part of customer experience, we allow people to send us a selfie to hi@jonesroadbeauty.com, and we get back to them within 24 hours, hopefully, with recommendations. And that's another one where we call that our shade matching program. So on our CX team, we probably have 4 or 5 full-time shade matchers or like makeup artists who are also CX trained. And we see, it's hard to attribute revenue, but that is a really important one for us as well. And we see LTV of people who work with shade matching is a lot higher as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I'm going to ask a very specific thing. I'll be very impressed if you have the answer, but if you land on the homepage, or let's say I don't come to your site through a landing page, it's like really forcing me through the quiz. Do you have any idea how many people land on the homepage and navigate? I see it's like right up in the header, find your shade. Is that like a very common experience?
It is. I couldn't tell you the number. But yeah, the number's high, and we have on the PDP for the shades where it makes sense. We have, find my shade button right above our add to cart button that goes to a quiz. And so I would say pretty common. I can't tell you a number on it though.
I was going to end our Ecom Bros Learn About Makeup segment.
No, I want to talk more about makeup. No, what are we? I like how, like, I'm looking at your mobile site right now. There's 2 buttons to click above the fold, or I guess 3. There's my cart, but I'm not going to click that because it has 0. So there's basically the shop now, and then the drop down, and then everything. I just love how simple it is. Like, you're going to get eyes on everything you put in that mobile nav because it's either that or shop now. So I think that's really cleverly designed and very simple. Also, Cody, you said a couple things that I want to emphasize. First off, and the listeners might cringe and they may never watch this again after I say this, but you don't need to test everything. You just don't. Like, you got to know when to test it and like quantify it and when to trust your gut intuition. And if you can test it and it makes sense to, of course, do it. But, Cody, you called out that like package insert play. That's like intuitively a better experience for people that are buying your products. I don't think you need to test that, although it would be really cool to, put that into a CDP and see. I agree. Kind of what we did with customer success. Like, we're never not going to do that. but I did want to know. So it's interesting, but it's just like kind of a fun to know. You don't need to do a lot of you don't need to test a lot of these things. And then also like this idea of funnels. I think on Twitter, you hear about funnels and like it's all about ad creative to a landing page to a listicle to a landing page to a product page to a whatever. And like people always talk about the funnel. Funnels are not unique to paid media and acquisition. Funnels are everywhere in your business. Anything that's, driving traffic from one place to another place is a funnel. And that's how we think about this too. Like, yes, we think about funnels in terms of paid media, but we also think about funnels in terms of how we're cross-selling products. Like how do our loyalty ads feed traffic into our product cross-sell flows? Like that is a funnel. How do people go from a post-purchase order confirmation email to a use and care video, and then maybe there's like a CTA in that. Like that's all. They're all funnels, right? So I think that's often not thought about in non-acquisition settings, and I think it's really useful to take that concept and bring it to the entire business, no matter where people are at in the journey.
Yeah. So you guys run loyalty ads?
We run loyalty ads, but the reason we run them is because what we do is we have like a general cross-sell flow where we're giving, the whole goal of it is to bring broad awareness to all of our categories. And then we have these product-specific cross-sell flows, but we only want someone to go into a knives flow or a hex mill flow or any product-specific flow if they've A, bought, and B, have shown intent towards that product. So basically the general cross-sell flow and the loyalty ads act as a upper funnel tactic to fill those product specific cross-sell flows where like you have to have fired a view content tag or have visited that category's collection page to get funneled into that. So that's like, we don't even judge our loyalty ads based on any sort of performance metric. We really optimize based on engagement because we know we just want people to get funneled into those flows.
Got it. So I'm a customer. I go through, I buy the pan set, the 6-piece pan set, but I look at the pots. I might get pushed into a loyalty flow where you're like, hey, you're a customer that bought pans. You looked at pots. Here are more pots that we want to show you.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have
correctly?
We don't have like pots built out yet. Pretty much.
Right.
So we run loyalty retention ads on Meta as well, but not trying to. We run retargeting as well, not trying to. I just think exclusions suck. So I think so much of our spend goes to existing customers, even though we don't want it to. But we don't have specific campaigns to them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like the point that Connor made, though. There is some hard to measure value of your customers just knowing what you have. And I remember first hearing about this from Reza, who was the founder of shoelace.com, now the founder of Motion, our dear sponsor. But like explaining that to me early on, Shoelace was like for those that don't know, this was many years ago, but it was a retargeting tool specifically for Facebook where you could build out these really granular funnels like day by day. And this was when Facebook retargeting really worked and exclusions were awesome. And you could be like, if this person came from this channel for the first 3 days, show them this ad. It was like this crazy intricate retargeting flow that you could build out. And a big use case for it was retention as well. Exactly what Connor described. Like you could really thoughtfully introduce people to categories they might be interested in because they viewed it or they didn't view it. And you want to make sure, maybe for us, we want to make sure our customers know we have rings or carry on or whatever else. And I think there's absolutely value in that I think is a little bit, you might be creating that value in more ways than just capturing revenue on like a 7-day click basis. But our wallet customers knowing that we have carry-ons is incredibly valuable long-term for whenever they're back in market for a new piece of luggage.
You are explaining an exact conversation I had with our director of retention like 4 weeks ago, where basically it was, hey, our main goal with this is to not drive a knife order or a hex mill order. Because like who are we to say that person wants that right now or they're in market for that? Like sure, we can look at reorder rates and like time it based on the most optimal time that we're seeing in the data. But at the end of the day, if someone's not in the market for a knife, they're not in the market for a knife. But when they are, I want them to be aware that Hexclad has amazing knives and remember what differentiates us. And so we actually don't I think about those cross-sell flows not on a revenue, like last click revenue basis, but more on an engagement basis. Like what's our open rate here? Like how many people are coming into it? What's the open rate? What's the click rate? like, are we doing a successful job of building awareness around those product categories? Because if we are, then I think people are likely to come back to those categories when they are in market. So that's really interesting to hear that you think about it similarly, because you can't force someone to be in market. I think for the maybe there are some edge cases you can, but like I can't force someone to need
Totally.
no one needs a pepper grinder. No one needs a $129 pepper grinder, moreover, but I can goddamn make sure they know we sell a badass pepper grinder. So that's what we'll do.
Yeah, 100%. The other one that we talk about a lot, and we're getting further from customer experience, so I'll let you kind of reel us back in here. But same sort of idea on search, where I'm like, I'll talk with our PPC team, and I'm like, look, if we can target existing customers, which is tricky to do. You have like GA audiences or you're importing Klaviyo audiences or something like that. But if we can do that, I'm like, I don't even care about ROI. Like, let's just make sure that when they are identifying themselves as in market for a wedding band, that we're showing up as much as we possibly can. Now, you'd hope that we'd be able to serve those impressions on like a target ROAS basis. But more than anything, I'm like, yeah, I think there's value in them knowing that a brand that they've purchased from before, that we put a lot of effort into them having had a good experience, now sell the product that they're looking for. Just trying to like string that together across categories, across channels, and across like the lifespan of a customer, I think is really interesting.
I love that you're talking about like these very segmented Facebook retargeting audiences, and you're calling it PPC. You're bringing it back today.
Yeah,
The good old days.
The good old days. Yeah, 100%.
All right, I got one thing kind of on this note that I thought about as you guys were talking that I want to share kind of more on the CX side again. So I think we were talking about some of these tests, these like quality of life tests that are a better customer experience, but they also are a profitable test on a CRO basis. And that's great if you can find that. That's like the holy grail. I think sometimes I'll have these things be at competing ends of the spectrum, and I just want to make sure my growth test that I'm getting a better revenue per session or something like that is not detracting from customer experience. For example, like have a few examples where we've looked at it. Post-purchase upsells. I was pretty opposed to them for a while. I don't want to say opposed, but cautious. Like, to me, I had concerns about how that would be impacting customer experience. Would people think that that's not an amazing customer experience? And I think there's different ways to measure it, but that's just something where it's like when we go live, we looked at our revenue that we're generating from that. What's the potential upside there? But then on the potential downside, like you got to ask your director of CX or somebody on your CX team, like, are you getting any feedback about this? Are you getting any complaints? Is this making it harder for your team to do their job? Are people asking to cancel these orders? Like, is it clear? Is it not clear? Kind of like, I know Connor is a really big fan of dark patterns and he's probably gone crazy with it on the site. But like, you just actually want to make sure you're not inadvertently doing that. Like, for example, we used to on our PDPs, when you go to Miracle Bomb, you could just automatically add to cart and it would be defaulted to the first shade. But then we realized that, yes, that's the best for conversion rate, but a lot of people would automatically add to cart and buy the shade without thinking about it. So we actually made them it grayed out and they have to select. And technically, that's probably worse for conversion rate. We ended at, but it's better on the customer experience side. So I just think there are a few of these tests that you have to do where you have to weigh both aspects of it to be able to see is the risk versus worth the reward. Like we now use like the network offers from Rocked, which is like the company that bought AfterSell. And they are measuring repeat purchase rate of the groups that are seeing that compared to not, because that's our best measure to know like, hey, is this impacting anything on the brand side? Yeah, theoretically, we love the incremental net revenue that we get from this, but is this not a good customer experience? Well, let's let the data tell us and see if we get any feedback. So is that something you guys think about at all?
Absolutely. I think the upsell one is such a good example because I think I know this is how I thought about it early on, and then I started thinking about it deeper. You look at like you roll out a rebuy upsell, for example, and let's say it's a big bold pop-up right when that person clicks add to cart, like get this additional product along with your 12-piece set for this $1 off. Great, you go into rebuy it in 2 weeks, like, wow, that $40K in revenue from this upsell, that's awesome. Like that's $40K we wouldn't have had. That's not necessarily the case. If there's a world where that upsell was such a jarring experience that even though you're seeing $40K attributed to the upsell, conversion rate on that experience might have dropped by a number that offset that $40K. So like that's something that we were very cautious of, is like we did do a A/B split test on that, and we saw the overall revenue lift when we had that pop-up upsell. But like, you got to be thinking about it one level deeper. It's not just whatever, Rebuy or whoever, or, it's not just Rebuy. It could be custom built. It's not just the revenue from that. Like, you got to be measuring the conversion rate change between that and a version that's not with that, AOV changes, and ultimately revenue per site visitor, because there's more to be, peeled back than the surface level, revenue per upsell. So absolutely thinking about that. I think that's an important detail that marketers need to keep in mind as they're rolling out upsells in various places across the site experience.
The pop-up's a great example, and like, honestly, really kind of obvious, right? If you're too intrusive, people convert at a lower rate and you make less money. Like that's pretty cut and dry. One that I'd love your guys' perspective on, and this was a pretty common argument years ago, was this idea around discounting. People would say to never discount, because if you discount, the customer experience is worse, or like you're reducing your brand value, so these customers would be worth less to you over time. I'm curious if either of you guys have looked at like LTV by whether someone has redeemed a promo code or something similar.
It's been a while since we've done that analysis, and I'm actually gonna follow up and look at a year-to-date one, or maybe starting at the beginning of last year, because I want to find a recent, like, all 12-piece set orders that came on a gift with purchase during offer period versus all evergreen 12-piece set orders, and look at the LTV delta. But one test we ran recently, and I've been pushing for this for a while. Like, I don't like the sense that you're an always on discount brand. Cookware in general is a very offer driven moment. And to an extent, like, a brand has to play in the arena that they're operating in. Like, if Hexclad's running 4 tentpole moments per year, but the rest of our industry is running 10, like, we're probably going to miss out on consumers that we would have gotten if we also had an offer. But my thought was, how can we avoid feeling like we're always on discount? Because we used to have strike through pricing on everything. And what I have been pushing for a while is to remove all strike through pricing on individual retail products, and then only have strike through pricing on bundles, because I think that has the perception that the way you save is by bundling, but it's not on sale. It's just because you're bundling and saving. Whereas if all your individual products are always discounted, you have this like always on offer, or this always on, offer feel. So that's a big change and like a huge swing in like price perception. So we actually did test that. We split that, and we actually saw we saw no drop in revenue or conversion rate. We actually saw a bump in AOV on the version that removed strike through on individual products, and it was a slight bump, but a bump nonetheless. And I just think my conclusion is that people were more likely to buy a bundle when you only had strike through pricing on the bundles and not on the retail prices, because they're thinking, well, okay, I want a deal, I'm gonna go buy a bundle here. So that was a big swing, and I was not comfortable rolling that out without a test first. And we saw pretty much, it was a slight bump, but almost even, but the AOV bump was noticeable.
Super interesting.
Yeah, so we don't do a lot of discounting. I think we've kind of been in that camp where it's like, we don't want to. If we don't have to, let's do other things, because we think it's a slippery slope. So I do believe in the whole, like, you train your buyer to wait for sales and things like that. We do discount as when we do like kits and things like that and bundles. We'll do that for like holiday, and it does come with a discount. I will say we don't focus on it that much in terms of like, we're starting to now just do strike through pricing, but like, it's not the big focus that it's a deal. It's more of like, we try to put exclusive things in it. What we do find is the people that get acquired on these kits have some of our best LTV. And so I don't believe it's because of the price that they're coming in on. I don't think it's a negative hindrance. I do think if we highlighted the price a little bit more, then maybe we might get more of a discount shopper, but we'd have to test it. But what we find is when we are acquiring people on kits, we're usually putting products from multiple categories in there. And when we encourage cross-category shopping on first purchase, that leads to higher LTV, also just a higher AOV on first purchase. Usually it's correlated with LTV for a lot of brands. So that's what we find, but we don't have a good sample set, obviously, to look at discounting. How about you guys at Ridge?
We just try to be thoughtful about it. I mean, frankly, we discount about 4 times a year. No, 3 big times a year. We do our anniversary sale, Father's Day, Q4, and then sweepstakes is a largely non-promotional period. You could save through kitting all the time. I bring it up because what we've been trying to do better is just be more thoughtful about the actual discount messaging. We do a post-purchase offer, which is like pretty aggressive. But rather than being like, we're not like blowout sale, get now, 10 minutes left, whatever. I think that's where you really start detracting from the brand like value. And also I think it just makes for kind of a wonky customer experience. We really try to tee it up as like, hey, you just became a customer. Like that's what this is what that means. This is the mission of our brand, and we make more products that kind of follow through on that mission. We're giving you a discount so you can get more of them. So we just try to walk that line of like making it a strong message, a compelling message that's not singularly like promo oriented. But I don't know if we're actually having that negative impact. We know that we're creating more dollars. We're profiting more when we're giving that LTV offer. But we've really still tried to toe the line in terms of like what it means for the brand.
Sweet. I think we want to do our test of the week here. And I was going to do test of the week on some messaging we recently did in our Mother's Day sale. But on this note, in terms of how we're messaging price and what that means for brand perception and performance, we actually have an interesting one that we rolled out during our Memorial Day sale. So we're retesting it right now. So I'm not going to, conclusively 100% say this is what we're going to roll out, because we want to see if it's any different during a sale period versus during an evergreen period. But now that we've found that initial finding I mentioned earlier, we're iterating on exactly how we message that strike through and that value. So the original version on bundles is retail price, and then with the full price struck through. Now what we're testing into is not striking through that MSRP price, but just saying full price with the word value after it. And during the Memorial Day sale, that worked way better. Like way better than I was very shocked at the lift we saw in conversion rate from doing that. So I'm hoping that holds true, because again, I think that's a better perception of our brand and how we price things. And then what I'll probably do next, if that holds true, is I think I want to test into having like a little info bubble right next to that like MSRP value messaging. That brings up a little note that says, value price is the total price of all individual retail products added together, or whatever the concise way of saying that would be, to continue to like hammer home what these strike through prices mean for us. So that's been a fun little, that's a good little test of the week that kind of speaks to what we were talking about with how pricing and offer positioning can lead to brand perception, which also ultimately is a huge customer experience variable.
Yeah, well executed segue there.
Well, I guess that's a wrap on episode 12.
Number one podcast in the world, number one marketing podcast in the world.
All right, that is a wrap on episode 12. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to the sponsors again, Motion, Prescient AI, and Richpanel. Again, if you're liking this, please subscribe, share it with your friends, get them to subscribe, be the first to know when all new episodes go live. And if you have questions, you can either drop them in the comments, or we do have a Slack community of over 600 e-com operators. So it's a great spot to get all your questions answered, not just by the host of the Marketing Operators, but like I said, 600 plus other e-com operators that are in the trenches, going through the same things that you are. It's a great community, great way to collaborate and get questions and problem solve. So thanks for joining.